genuine advice is take everything with a pinch of salt. Don't get too excited about certain things. Don't get low about other things. Try and maintain a really even mindset every day because it's very easy to get very disillusioned very quickly. It's also very easy to get very carried away very quickly.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Hi, Will. How are you doing?
Yes, really good. Thank you. Really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's great to have you on the Becoming a Hiring Manager podcast. I know that we've wanted to actually get you on for a while. So it feels good that we can have this conversation and really hone in on you and how you've been so successful in your current business, your kind of authenticity when it comes to advertising on LinkedIn, when it comes to your videos, and also for anyone who's listening, how they can set up their own rec-to-rec recruiting consultancy business, if I can get my words out. But before we get into all of the kind of meaty stuff, I would really like to hear more about you, your story. I know you do a lot with Brackley Town football team, and I think that's a really interesting and kind of shows that you can have it all. You can do everything that you're interested in and also run a good business. So yeah, over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Cool. Well, I turned 40 this month, so 40 years old, married, with what I think most people describe a long-suffering wife. She has to tolerate me and everything I do on a daily basis, and I've got 3 kids as well, so I'm very, very
Wow.
lucky to have a lovely family. Outside of recruitment, I've got two other main interests, one being Brackley Town. So I'm a volunteer
Mhm.
down there, head of commercial. So we've just gone up into the National League, which is like one league below, well, it's a professional league, but one league below league football. So it's a pretty it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it
But
sounds exciting.
I absolutely love that 'cause it's a great excuse for me to go to every football match, home and away. So I travel the country at weekends going to watch Brackley. And also, I've got with my best friend, I've got a butcher company as well. So we've got an online butcher kind of service. So we deliver meat to people's houses. So it's a very busy life.
Yeah, and all very different. Like
Yeah,
butcher to football to recruiting. Feels like a
it's just
different
the
skill
things I
set.
like. I love meat. I love football, and I think I love recruitment. But yeah, I've got very different things. Yeah.
I love that. Do you get to take the family with you when you go to the football games?
No, weirdly enough, they don't want to come. They much
Oh,
prefer me to be out of the house all day away from them. So yeah, it's my Saturday to myself and with my football friends. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's important. And something that I think can easily get lost whenever you're doing different things and things get really busy. So actually just have time where you can decompress yourself. So yeah, super important to get into. I know we got to meet at the Rec Expo just gone. So whoever's listening to this, this has been currently being recorded in October 2025, nearly November. And yeah, the expo was earlier this month. How did you find it all?
Oh, do you want the honest answer?
Absolutely. Let's break into it.
We were really disappointed this year with the expo. We our favourite things were the owl. Like genuinely, your owl is like the highlight of our entire experience. Some of the speakers were good, and
Mhm.
some of the people who were presenting were really good. But we just felt it was much smaller. There wasn't as many like relevant businesses there.
Mhm.
For us, it seemed like there was a few who not quite sure how they even got that gig to be there. But yeah, but it was look, the Loxo stand was by far the greatest. Having Sam Wilson doing magic was a genius move because there was just a constant like interest in what was going on. So yeah, look, hopefully London will be a bit better in the
Yeah.
new year. But yeah, it wasn't as good as last year to be scathingly honest.
Do you think that's a reflection on the market in general? Do you think there's reasons that people aren't going to these expos as much and the speakers are maybe not who you expect them to be?
Potentially, I kind of feel as though from talking to other suppliers that maybe the price to exhibit was very high
Mhm.
and it's a very difficult ROI justification for most people. So, yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. From our perspective as a rec to rec, there were so many people there we could network with and talk to, and see. And that was amazing. But compared to other years, there wasn't quite the grandiose feel of it all. It felt a little bit smaller
Yeah.
and yeah, not quite as impressive.
And I think it's almost a bit dangerous because once you have it getting smaller, people then think, well, is there point going next year? Then it gets even smaller, and then you think, well, have we just lost a whole event that used to be something that was really beneficial for the
Exactly.
whole
And then it,
market?
100% Minnesota will just be, oh, we'll just do London. We'll do it London once a year, and
Yeah,
everyone will go to that one. So it's a shame because obviously it's great for people in the north to come down to Birmingham, and it's close to us, and
yeah.
Birmingham's a great city. But yeah, you're right. Hopefully they can come up with some new, fresh ideas to sex it up a bit next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to rack my head on how I'm gonna get an owl to London. That's that's the next for the next expo. So I'm
Y-
working out what we can do that isn't
Get
quite.
get Harry Potter's number. I'm sure he can
Yeah,
tell you how he
exactly.
takes his around.
I'll use Loxo sauce to get that.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing. So I think people want to hear about how you've made yourself, because when you're at the Rec Expo, there was quite often that people were stopping you, saying hello to you. Like, you are very much known in the industry. And for those people who are listening and want to become, an owner of a successful business, especially in that Rec to Rec space, what are the kind of main points that you would tell them that they need to think about maybe before getting into it, and then when they're in it, what kind of sticks out to you as big learning points?
Yeah, of course. So first thing I'll say is there's no space for any more people in the rec to rec space.
Yeah,
So don't even
just
bother.
leave it.
But yeah, just leave it. But if you really insist on it, I think authenticity and being yourself is huge. And I think in an age now where we're so influenced by AI and taking shortcuts. Oh, I need to write a post. I'll just pop something into ChatGPT and just see what comes up. I think people appreciate A, the authenticity of being yourself, and B, seeing a face and seeing like someone who they recognize who is themselves. So, a lot of people are scared to put video content up there because of the perceived negativity around it or criticism. Whereas I just don't really care. If somebody doesn't like me, if I'm not their cup of tea, then fine. They're not my target audience.
Yeah.
What I found is actually the people who do like it and who, do like what we do are perfect people to work with because they're great to work with on a real level because they understand our reference points. I
Hmm.
understand theirs. You can have those really frank conversations without having the like super corporate like barrier up, which I think can happen in a lot of other industries. And when I've tried to recruit, back in the day into different industries which were a bit more corporate, and I was having to turn up in like a suit and tie and feeling like a bit of a fish out of water, it just didn't work because I was trying to be someone who I wasn't. And that's kind of what led us on to going into that rec to rec world because I was felt like, these are my people. Like I understand recruiters, I understand the big business owners, their pain points, what they like, what they don't. And it was a really easy move for us to transition purely into rec to rec. And it's been a really successful transition. So yeah.
Yeah, there's so many like great bits of advice in that. I think a lot of the time when people say like be your authentic self, it gets really confused with what that is. But if it is that you like being in the suit and tie and you like having your fancy schmancy rooftop bars, dinners, whatever it is, then that is what you like. That is you being authentic.
And
It
that's
doesn't
fine.
mean,
That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's, you don't have to try and strip back to the same person you are when you're at home with your wife and kids. That's not what I think you're saying. You're saying wherever you feel most comfortable in a professional stance, go with that. Which does, from what I've seen, gets a bit lost. So I think it's really good advice, and hopefully, even if people aren't looking to do rec to rec, just general advice is so important because you will find the people that you gel with, and then life is easier when you're surrounded by people who have the right energy. You're like uplifted all the time. So
Completely agree, and you're right to say that. You don't have to be like me, like a chavvy little oik or whatever. Like you can be the professional, proper person. I like to call them. But if that's you, there's nothing wrong with that. But being that as yourself is, yeah, like you say, it makes life a lot easier.
yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Okay, so say if they're feeling like they know who they are, they know what market is to go to. Like, because even in the rec to rec space, you still obviously have like finance recruiters versus like construction worker recruiters, and I'm sure there's lots of different types of places to be. So how do they then find and then network within those areas? Like how do they get there? I mean, you can obviously just go into a building site and start becoming friends with people, but what's your advice there?
But that's actually a really, really valid point, right? You need to go where those people are. So, if you're working in the construction sector, you need to work out and find out where those construction workers are, right? And let's be honest, not everyone is on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people who aren't. So, yes, going to site, getting to know the managers and getting to know the people on site is exactly the right thing to do. There's some industries, let's talk about corporate finance or hedge fund management, where nearly all of your networking will be done in the pub on a Thursday evening, with people spilling out of offices and going to, the pubs in London or whatever. That is where you will do your networking and find your people. If you're trying to send in mails on LinkedIn to some of those people, you're just never going to get a response. So it's all about being where your target audience is. And that's where we've been quite effective on LinkedIn, because
Mm-hmm.
nearly all of our target audience are on LinkedIn. So we want to be there. We want to be visible. We want to, have an opinion, be key opinion leaders to everyone who sees it. So we very purposefully do a lot on LinkedIn. If you looked at our Facebook and our Instagram, it's a bit like an afterthought. But that's purely because most people won't be on there, that we would target. Whereas there will be some agencies, and construction is a great example, where yes, huge amounts of their candidates, their clients will be on Facebook, they'll be on Instagram. So when they're doing their marketing strategy and they think about, what's going to resonate with their people, it's going to be completely different to what
Mm-hmm.
we would with ours.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
actually I remember back when I was in the customer success side of things. I remember we had a client of Loxo, and they were trying to set up an email sequence. And then I was like, who are you trying to email? And they were like, farmers. And I was
Yeah.
like, why? I was because
Yeah.
I for some reason my sister's husband's from a farming background and my boyfriend's family are farmers as well. And I'm like, I've never seen them once check their emails. Never, none of them. I was like, go send them, go knock on their door. I was like, the way that you're
Yeah.
actually going to get to them, I was like, put a leaflet in, put a sign up on their local town hall. I was like, that's where they are. Put it in church, like wherever the town hall is, like that's where you got to go. And I think sometimes we can get really confused with what we think we should be doing and what actually is effective. And so, yeah, going physically to places, underrated. And because no one else is doing it, if you do it, yes, it's going to take you a bit more time and effort, but your results are going to
You
be,
stand
you
out,
know,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And people just miss conversation, like face to face conversation, which is
Massively.
yeah, which is why it's sad about the Rec Expos like being so small. We want to bring those events back in the
Yeah.
ways that we can. Amazing. Okay, so they know who they are. They're going for people. I had a one follow up question on that. Is do you? And I feel like I know the answer, but do you think that there's a lot more value from being in the industry beforehand? So, say if someone worked their way up to CFO or COO, and then decided to actually be like, well, I've actually got quite a good network. Maybe I can now go into recruiting for those positions. Do you think that's potentially a better route to go into, or do you think there's still value in kind of being brand new?
You can, I think both can work equally well, because I think a lot of people um, don't necessarily realize really what a recruitment job is sometimes, because
Mm-hmm.
a CFO will understand the subject matter they're talking about to the nth degree. They will understand like banking mechanisms and all of that stuff, which I've got no idea about. But what they won't necessarily understand is how to effectively attract someone,
Mm-hmm.
how to identify those people within another business. And it's not just as simple as going to a competitor on LinkedIn, looking at their staff page, and then just saying, oh, yeah, I'll drop him a message and see what they say. There's far more complexities to it. And, people can see LinkedIn recruitment as a really simple job, and in its essence, it is. But actually, you need to have this complementary skill set of being able to assess and attract properly, which is why someone coming completely fresh in can literally be taught and wired from the very beginning. Now, yes, they absolutely have to have the ability to understand like a surface level bit of information. If you're working in the finance sector and you're assessing a finance director's competency, you need to understand whether they, I don't know, understand certain types of economics and the right questions to ask. But that can all be trained.
Yeah.
So you can definitely come at it from both angles. And it's probably like a Venn diagram of someone who's in the middle, who's absolutely perfect, who can do both. But yeah, I always find that people who have come from industry and then are tried to apply that recruitment are quite often surprised at how not easy it is, because they've been used to paying the big fees to agencies and like, oh, anyone can do this. But when you get to the crux of it, and you understand that recruitment is a lot about discipline, about regularity, and doing the right thing over and over again, it's not as easy as people think.
I think that is is such a important part, because even when I go onto Reddit and I read about rec to rec recruiters, there are recruiters being like, it's crazy that in the recruitment industry we still need recruiters to recruit. And I'm like, well, yes, because you can't do everything, right? It's not the way it goes. But a lot of them were like, I found it quite ironic. A lot of them were like, yeah, there's majority of rec to rec are really bad, but some of them are really good. I'm like, this is what people say about the recruitment industry all over, whatever sector you're in. But it's funny that recruiters are saying it about other recruiters. So then it kind of begs the question, like, what makes because we kind of know what makes a bad recruiter and a good recruiter. I feel like they're quite separate, but to go from good to kind of outstanding, what are your really like kind of creme de la creme? This is going to make you be better and get the results that you actually want as well.
So for me, that's a really easy one to answer. Is consistency. You need to be disciplined and consistent with what you do. Every single top biller, and we're talking like the great billers, not the good ones, but the great billers. They do pretty much the same thing week in, week out, day in, day out. They'll have very fixed, blocks of time where they'll be like, right, today between 10 and 2, I'm doing purely BD. I'm going to do 50 outreaches via, the campaign on Loxo. I'm going to do 40 phone calls, and I'm going to do 20, I don't know, voice notes to people. They'll do that every single day, right? And they will be disciplined with the responses. They'll recognize buying triggers and they'll capitalize on it. I think it's really, there's no secret sauce to it. Don't get me wrong. Yes, having an affable personality will help, being driven will help. But fundamentally, is the consistency and the regularity, which is what it will be. And you'll find most really good recruiters won't necessarily be doing the 12 to 14-hour days. They'll be doing like 8-hour days, but they'll be very productive in those 8 hours, and they'll be doing sprints of work in that time and not wasting time on stuff which isn't going to generate them revenue. So there really isn't, in my opinion, a secret sauce. It's just about being consistent and disciplined in what you do.
How it's not about the long hours, it's about what you actually do with your time. And I think everyone is like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. It's like, it's not a flex. Like, being busy all the time is not the goal. The goal is to
Mm.
get your work done and then to go have fun, to go to football, to go start with your butcher business, to spend time with your family. It's not about being as busy as you can, it's about being as effective as you can. And I think we do kind of forget that. And that's
Yeah,
why great tools are out there to help you with those things. But being consistent, it does, it's kind of with everything, isn't it? You
yeah.
have to be consistent, if you want any sort of result. Amazing. Is there anything else that you feel like is specific to rec that you feel is worth mentioning to those who are listening, who are interested in a rec to rec business?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the rec to rec world is not like Wild West, but it does suffer from poor perception, because our currency is our recruitment billers. And if I had a biller who was doing £300,000 a year, I could probably send an email to 200 contacts And if they receive it, 99% will come back saying, yeah, I'm interested in the chat. So that way of working encourages poor practice, in my opinion. So we're very much try to be more of the search and select route to market, as opposed to the spamming emails of people. Well, you lose credibility very quickly. So I think you can definitely burn bridges very quick in rec to rec, because if an agency owner gets like an inappropriate email, or someone that's not suitable, they're like, oh, this guy's shit, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So we try to be really kind of honed in on who we're sending, because our reputation relies on it. And actually, we win a lot of business through referrals from one agency owner to another. So yeah, there's a lot of people take the least the path of least resistance in rec to rec, i.e. you get a really good candidate and you send a mass email to 200 people and you essentially give them to the highest bidder. Like, I don't really like that way of working. So yeah, we try to do that a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think reputation is um, obviously important for anyone really, anyone who wants a good career. But I think in recruitment, people talk so much, and even someone who works for a rec tech company, we're so aware that it's news spreads like wildfire in the recruitment industry. So actually being rec to rec, it feels like it's probably even more heightened, because people will know your name, people will know what you're saying. If you step out of line and it doesn't go down well, that's a risk that you're going to take. So I think even when it comes to being your authentic self, and there's some of the hilarious stuff that you post on LinkedIn, it's done with like kind of jest and people understand it, and you've got to those like 31,000 followers, which is fantastic. But it's a risk when you post things and you think, well, is it going to respond, are people going to respond in the way that I need them to respond, and is it going to get you business? Because something I did want to go into was your kind of social media presence and how often you're posting and how you are marketing yourself. We kind of touched on it before, like you're not really focusing as heavily on Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is where your people are. How often would you say that you are posting, I guess, high quality content, and then kind of smaller, more specific content as well? So like the kind of range. Obviously, it's all high quality. That was.
Yeah, of course. So, no offense taken. No, do you know what? It's really, really hard. And anyone who does any form of content creation will tell you how difficult it is to be consistent, because there are days where, morning could have been really stressful. It could have been the kids being really naughty. My wife's annoyed with me because I'm going to Doncaster on Saturday to watch Brackley. And I then got to come to an office full of people and create content which shows us as being really funny, happy. When actually, I just want to sit there and be like, can everyone just leave me alone, please? I just want to turn my lights
Yeah.
off, put my headphones in. So it's really difficult. It's really, really hard to do. But what we try and aim to do, and what our non-negotiable is really, is we only put content out that we're happy to, and we only are trying to please and entertain ourselves. If somebody else likes that and finds it funny, that's brilliant. But actually, looking at metrics like likes and shares is a little bit pointless. And people have learned to game the system. Our biggest driver, or our biggest measure of success, is actually the sentiment of the comments. So if people are saying nice stuff, or they're saying or having opinions, that's far more important to us than getting 1,000 likes. I'd rather have two comments which were from people saying, oh my God, I love this, this is hilarious, or I hate you so much, you're an absolute arsehole. I'd rather have one of each of those, than 1,000 comments and people have just blindly gone, yeah, like, sorry, 1,000, reactions of
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
like, whatever. I'd rather make someone feel something than just, not feel anything at all and just giving
Mm-hmm.
it a like. So we're really big on, not catering, or not trying to do posts which make people happy. Does that sometimes backfire? Absolutely. Do we sometimes miss the mark? 100%. No, no one's perfect. And yes, there's videos I look back at from like a year ago, and I'm like, oh bloody hell, what was I thinking that day? What's going through my head there? But
Mm.
I think in the grand scheme of things, you've just got to get comfortable with rejection and with people who aren't gonna react well to stuff you do, and just be fine with it and just not care. And this is something which I think a lot of people struggle to get their head around. You know, in the nicest way, I don't care if someone doesn't like me.
Yeah.
It's not really going to affect my life at all. I just move on and understand that they probably like someone else, and that's completely fine. So I think anyone who's going to embark on any form of content journey or content creation, just do it and understand whilst you're doing it, but you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And
Yeah.
just do and create content which makes you happy and that you're proud of, and if other people like it, that's just like a happy coincidence.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
you mentioned kind of preferring the comments to the likes, and this is where we're seeing a real shift in people really wanting and longing for community. And when they're commenting, they're saying like, "I'm here, I'm seeing you," whether it's positive or not, but they're in that community. Like just because you are negatively perceiving something doesn't mean that you're not in it. You're still commenting, you're still involved. So I think when it comes, oh no, my earphone always falls out. Sorry.
That's
When when it comes to creating community in like recruitment is community. If you think about it, if you really strip everything back, it's connecting people with other people, and then keep you keep holding on to those people because they're connections for your business, but also because they're people that you've connected with along that journey when you have been placing them. So we're really seeing a shift in the marketing side of things, and the marketing world and the technology world, and every like Reddit is popping off. It always has, but it's really growing, because people are wanting those places to go and speak. So if your post evokes someone to want to comment, it's because they are involved, they're invested, and like you said, you're making them feel something.
yeah,
So I think absolutely it's definitely the metric to go after is that engagement, as opposed to just liking and
yeah,
laugh reacting as
yeah, yeah,
such.
yeah, yeah,
But even that is they're still showing that they're interested. So but it's not as powerful. We do the same here at Loxo as well. When people comment about us, we're like, wow, this is someone that really loves us. So if you're liking our posts, you kind of fly under the radar because everyone does that.
yeah, yeah. That's it. And also the problem is so many like people that was their measurement for success. Those metrics, those likes,
Hmm.
all of that stuff was like, look, I will charge you to do your social media, and I'll get you 200 likes on every post, right? And that's how they judge whether a post is successful. They wouldn't judge it on whether you got leads from it, or
Hmm.
whether you picked a business or made contacts. It would just be purely on those metrics, and they're vanity metrics, really. They don't mean anything. It's just a click. But you're right. When someone takes the time to comment, have an opinion, counter argue, that is what you want. That's the input and the relationship building
Yeah, and
you
then
want from it.
and responding to those comments as well. Because it
Yeah,
gets people really excited. If I comment back to a comment, from my own, I'll get one like. But if I respond from Loxo, 6 likes, 7 likes, people are like, "Oh my god, Loxo's saying this," and the
yeah,
same way that Will's talent is a brand. It's also obviously part of you, but it is a brand. There's a few of you in the office, and it's very clear. It has a different kind of relationship to people, and people feel differently. They feel way more excited when they see responses from companies. I don't
yeah,
know why, but
100%.
it's a thing. And
Yeah,
for you, obviously, you're such a face of it that when they see responses from you, they're like, "Wow, this is an actual person that
yeah,
I'm now
yeah,
connecting with," which is crazy. So it's really good. Is there? I mean, we could talk about social media forever, especially me now that this is my focus of my job. But one thing I did want to ask, because I know you changed your company name, right?
yeah.
So what was the story behind that? What was the reason? What did you? I'm assuming it's going to loop everything that we've spoken about perfectly: authenticity, social media, everything. So, yeah, tell us and walk us through that whole process.
Yeah, hopefully it does loop it quite nicely. So I wanted to be. I felt at the beginning of this year the move to or the shift to AI into impersonal ways had completely taken hold. I'd made some pretty major changes behind the scenes in terms of a business perspective, and I wanted to you know like almost rebirth ourselves, you know, in terms of how we come across. And I wanted to create a business and a company which I was proud to put my name to, right? Not just hiding behind a pretty ambiguous name of like OX7, which is just the postcode of where we started, but actually saying, look, behind Will's talent, you know, there's a Will who takes responsibility for everything that happens, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's candidate experience, client experience, or anything at all. And we didn't want to be a faceless, you know, nameless organization who was just some strange Latin name just because that's what they thought would be cool. Like I wanted it to be a bit more personalized. And, you know, we definitely embrace elements of AI, and there's some fantastic tools and integrations with Loxo which save us so much time and energy. But ultimately, what that does is it allows us to then be front facing and be super personalized in everything we do. So I wanted it to be like, look, I'm pinning my name to the mast of this. You know, I'm not going to hide behind, you know, a strange company name or whatever. I want it to be like, and maybe this is making me sound like an egomaniac, but I want it to be me and people to know it's, you know, something I'm proud of. So that was kind of my thinking behind it, really, my logic.
I I think it marries really well with how you also market the company. Like you are in every video. You are there,
Yeah.
you're the forefront, you are it's very obvious that it's yours.
An attention
Um
seeker, some would say.
well, or just a very clever businessman. Like when you're seeing that people are engaging and liking exactly what you said at the start of the podcast, which is your face, you're there, you're an actual person,
Yeah.
you're being visual. People shy away from being physically online, but you're there. It marries really well with that, and I think and authentically you enjoy it, right? You
Yeah.
enjoy making those videos, that creativity. If there's someone who's listening to this is like, well, I'm not as confident as that, or like that's not necessarily the route that I go down. I think it's fine. Make your recruitment company name very obvious that it's
Yeah.
if it's something that you're really structured and very like serious, then make it seem like that. Make it feel more
Yeah.
rigid. Make the logo feel more kind of harsh and rigid if that's your vibe.
Yeah.
If you're going to go for more like a personal, have like bubbly writing, whatever you want to do. I think as long as it marries, then people very clearly understand the vision. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think it's a great representation of how you're showing up online, how you're showing up in your business, and also to your clients. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's working really well for you, as I'm sure you
Thank you.
also think too.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I think there were the questions that was keen to ask you. Is there anything that you feel like, as someone who's starting their direct company, listening to this would need to hear as closing remarks from Will G? Although I am sure we'll
Yeah.
have lots more podcasts coming in the
I
future.
hope so. Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, in the recruitment industry, the candidates, you know, are nearly all recruitment consultants, and they're a weird bunch, right? So, despite doing the same job as us, we come across so many difficulties I expect we shouldn't come across, ghosting, you know, backdoor, and all of that. If genuine advice is take everything with a pinch of salt. You know, don't get too excited about certain things. Don't get low about other things. Try and maintain a really even
Mm.
mindset every day, because it's very easy to get very disillusioned very quickly. It's also very easy to get very carried away very quickly. You know, we get an offer, then you're straight onto the TUI website, booking a holiday, all inclusive to Turkey, and you think, yeah, I'll get my teeth done and everything at the same time. But actually, you know, you just need to be sensible and realize there'll be peaks and troughs. You know, and just keeping a kind of a balanced mindset will massively help. So yeah.
And I think that marries really nicely with what you said about consistency. Like the best recruiters, the ones that are actually outstanding, do the same thing day in, day out, no matter what's going on around
Yeah.
them. And yeah, remembering that, because it is recruitment definitely has highs and lows. You see it, you feel it when you speak to clients, and you can tell when they've had a really good quarter and when they've maybe not. And it is hard because a lot of these companies are also their own, right? So if you don't bill, then that holiday that you promised your family might not happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is, it feels risky, or food on the table for some people. So
Yeah.
yeah, completely. That I think that's really good advice. Just staying as kind of straight as you can. And again, life advice for everyone. Don't get too too excited. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Don't count your
Exactly.
I always
Yeah,
used to say eggs before they hatch, and my dad was like, "You can count because they are eggs," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay."
yeah. Yeah, you
He was like,
can
"If you
actually
can't,
do that.
yeah, that's allowed." I was like, amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I feel like there's so much more that we can definitely dive into in different areas. So I will definitely be getting you back on the podcast,
Thank you.
probably in the new year now, which is crazy. That's gonna be 2026 so soon.
Madness.
But I hope you have a great rest of the year. I hope everything comes in and you can go to Turkey with your family.
Fingers
And
crossed.
and yeah, speak to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.